Saint Lucia, mama, that's the land of my birth,
Bonjour tout le monde, jodi a c'est vendredi, il disait, et puis temps pour conversation kabawea. Good morning everyone, it is 10 a.m. and it is time for Rum Shop Talk. And we have a special surprise for you guys. Our very first Rum Shop guest on set. And what's really great about this is Karen was actually our very first guest on a Rum Shop. So it feels like kismet that she should be the first person to actually be on the Rum Shop guest. I will tell you guys briefly about Karen, and then I'll let Karen actually introduce herself. And there's her bio up here. So I've known Karen for years now. We met in our BNI group, and Karen is a mortgage broker. Actually, she's like my favorite mortgage broker. She has been in the industry for a very long time. She started off doing commercial lending, and she now does residential. She does a lot of reverse mortgages, first-time home buyer programs. And I figured right now with the market being insanely hot, that if someone was looking to, start and get their feet wet and try to, get into the market for the first time, that having Karen on Rum Shop would be a great addition for you guys. So without further ado, here we have Miss Karen Card.
Thank you, Jan. Well, as you know, you are my favorite trust attorney.
Yay!
Estate planner, I should say. Oh, wow. Okay, tell us about this.
Okay, so I love when it's cold, and you guys have seen me make this for you guys, but I figured because we were going to have Karen on set that we're going to have cocoa tea. And since it's still pretty cool, it's a perfect drink to have. And I always make those drinks, and I never could tell, it's like my family tells me it's really good. But I'm going to actually have a third party person tell me what they think about it. It's super hot, so
oh, really?
yes.
Okay.
And I don't know, you guys, do you know about Waffle House?
No. Yes, I do. It's in Dana Point.
No.
Oh, no, then I
So
don't.
Waffle House is actually it's a southern
Ooh, that's hot.
it is really hot. It's a southern waffle restaurant.
Thank you.
And it is absolutely delicious. Like the first time we had it, we were in I think Texas or Arizona, and we were like, oh my gosh! And so every time we're traveling and there's a Waffle House around, we actually hit the Waffle House. And I will tell you how we end up with a bunch of Waffle House cups, but not on video. I'm gonna put the fifth on that one. We won't incriminate ourselves.
Okay.
But we're gonna let our cocoa teas cool for a little bit, and Karen is gonna tell us about herself.
Okay. Well, let's see. I was born in Los Angeles. Went to USC, moved to Orange County after college, got married, had a family. Now I live in Dana Point. I got started in the lending business working for Pacific Mutual, so I did a lot of income property financing. I worked for the Irvine Company and the Travelers. But I transitioned to residential real estate mostly because it gave me more flexibility. Of course, today my hours don't give me as much flexibility, but I don't have kids at home anymore.
There we go.
Okay. So as you had already mentioned, we do all kinds of residential financing, whether forward or reverse, but we really do have a very special niche for first-time home buyers.
I love that. I know that you work with, it's not just you, and that you have a team. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your team?
So when my daughter, I moved back here from Michigan, where she had lived for 10 years, I kept encouraging her to move back and work with me. And it's just turned out to be a fabulous partnership.
Yeah.
She is my full partner, and her name is Katie Niedermeyer, Katie Card Niedermeyer. And we also have a newer team member that joined us last year, Stephanie Berry. And Stephanie is our loan assistant, and she's also, taken all the courses and licensed. But it's been really great to have Stephanie join us as well, because she helps us in the background with a lot of the processes that go on with managing a loan.
That's awesome. Okay, what is it like working with your daughter? like all the
You
time.
know my daughter.
I know I love Katie, but
It's just the most wonderful thing you
Yeah.
can imagine. It's been fabulous.
that is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't. She's so organized, focused, driven, smart, caring for people. She loves coaching first-time home buyers. She loves coaching buyers through the process. So it's been really a spark of kind of new life for me, to have her part of the team and to be able to work with her.
That's awesome. And no, it really is. You guys are like the cutest mom and daughter duo ever. Photos. I know that they're on the card team. You can follow them on Facebook. Check them out because they are just. I'm not kidding you guys. They are really cute for mom and daughter. All right. So, what makes a first-time home buyer unique?
So the biggest thing I would say is they just don't know anything. They don't understand the terminology. They don't know what to expect. Oftentimes they think, oh, I have to have 20% down. No, you do not need 20% down. So we love, it's a whole educational process that we walk them through so that they're comfortable, they understand what the steps are going to be and how to prepare for, buying a home. And a lot of people in my business, especially ones that like me have been in the business for a long time, don't like working with first-time home buyers
No.
because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know,
I imagine it is. I know when we first bought our house, it's like there's what you see online and there's what you've been told and there's what the process really looks like. And a lot of the times it's completely different than what you expect it to be. It's like people are like, oh, you just need to get pre-qualified. And then it was like, well,
what
no,
does that mean?
I know exactly. What does pre-qualified mean? And then it's like, and then someone else was like, no, not pre-qualified. You need to be pre-approved. And it's like, well, what's the difference between being pre-qualified and pre-approved? Because I have a letter from the bank that says, I'm pre-qualified for this much money. I have this much buying power.
Okay, pre-qualified is
Mhm.
when someone has looked at your financial information or just taken verbal information from you over the phone
Yeah.
or in person and has said, okay, you're qualified. I'll write you a letter.
Okay.
That's pretty much worthless. The next step would be a pre-approval, which is actually collecting documentation from a borrower, which we do, both bank statements or asset statements, as well as tax returns or W-2s and so forth. And then we enter all that information into our loan operating system. We pull a credit report, and then we run automated underwriting. With automated underwriting, you are pre-approved. It will say you're approved and eligible. Now, that pre-approval is still only as good as our ability to accurately enter information into the system, right?
Okay.
So the third step, which a lot of companies don't do, but we do, is to actually submit a file for what we call TBD, or to be determined eligibility. We submit it to underwriting and get a full approval from the real human underwriter.
Got it.
For income and credit. And then we have a first-time home buyer, theoretically, right, who is fully approved, just subject to finding a property.
Wow.
And getting an appraisal, contract and appraisal and title work done. And it makes the process for them, once they do enter into a contract, much easier and shorter and, smoother all the way around.
Wow. I think that I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, like, for a lot of people,
Yeah.
that would be the most ideal. It's like if you were able to get through that process to the point where you're like, okay, I know for a fact that my loan is
I'm approved for a loan
guaranteed.
of this
Yes.
amount with this much down payment.
Exactly. And then I can go out and confidently look for a house. Because I think I know that it must be so depressing for a lot of people to go out there with their pre-qualified letters and put an offer on a house, get
And then it falls
accepted,
apart.
and then it falls apart. And you hear so many stories about that. So
I wanted to talk about down payment for a
Okay.
sec. Sorry for interrupting.
no,
you.
go
So,
ahead.
You don't need 20% down.
Okay.
There are down payment assistance programs that will actually provide 100% financing.
Wow.
They're a little bit more restrictive in terms of the income qualifying piece, and they're a little more expensive as far as interest rate. Our favorites, and usually where we'll end up with, is a Fannie Mae or a Freddie Mac, which are agency loans.
Okay.
3% down.
Mm-hmm.
And there are special programs with both of those agencies that afford the borrower a lower interest rate and a lower mortgage insurance rate.
Okay.
So it's easier to qualify for, and those are kind of our favorites. The other one would be FHA, which is 3.5% down.
Mm-hmm.
And they all allow gift funds. So a first-time home buyer, oftentimes 3% in gift funds is readily, sometimes readily available from family members.
Okay. And so when you say gift funds, you're talking about parents,
Mom, dad, or brother, sister.
Yeah.
Whoever.
Someone's like, I want to gift you this money for a down payment on a house. That's awesome. So what exactly do you guys provide specific to first-time home buyers?
So we start with sending them a rent versus buy analysis.
Okay.
We have a computer program that allows us to put in some, basic assumptions on what they tell us their income is, what we think they'll qualify for. And then we can actually give them different loan scenarios so they can see not only what their total payment will be, including the loan and their taxes and insurance and mortgage insurance if applicable, but also what the costs are. What is it going to cost me, to buy this home? Because it's not just a down payment.
Yeah.
You have escrow charges, title charges, recording. So we really lay it all out very specifically so they can see what the costs are going to be, what is, the total cost to get in.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I think that's great because I almost feel like that should always be the first step.
Yes.
In buying a house. It's not I want to buy a house and I'm going to go out there and look. It's how much house can I buy?
How much house can I buy, and what is it really?
And what is it really going to cost me? Exactly, because you get told you need a down payment, and then you go through the process and you're like, wait, I need what now? And I need how much more now? And if you're not planned and prepared for that, then again, it's like I put a down payment on, I put a offer on a house and it falls apart. I've put an offer on this house and now it costs a lot more than I can afford, and I'm pulling out. So I love that you guys actually have that as your first step, so that people know what they're getting into before they even jump in. Are there any special rates and programs right now for first-time home buyers?
Well, there are down payment assistance programs. There are, excuse me, Home Possible and Home Advantage are Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac programs that, as I said, are pretty specific to first-time home buyers. Minimum 3% down, lower interest rates, and lower MI. And all of those are what we would typically look at.
Okay.
Other than FHA. We do use FHA financing a lot depending on the borrower, the property. It's a little more lenient in terms of what your total debt is.
Okay.
It lets those ratios go a little higher.
Okay.
So really we look very carefully at every individual situation and help our clients determine what is my best path to home ownership.
All right. So for those programs out there, is there an income, is it like you have to be low income to qualify, or is that the case? Or are those programs also available to people with maybe mid-range, incomes?
No income caps for FHA loans.
Nice.
For the Home Possible and Home Advantage, yes, there are income caps that depend on the geographic location of the property.
Okay.
But if we take those programs out of the equation, if we have someone who meets Fannie Mae guidelines, but their income is too high, then we would likely place them on a program, a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac program with 5% down. Okay. So a little bit more down payment because they make too much money.
Yeah. But that's good though, because it's I imagine for a lot of people, they might be making a lot of money, but don't have, all of the down payment saved and are afraid of getting into the market and thinking that they won't qualify because they're thinking, I make too much money. It's kind of like, it's like I need, so there's so much need-based, programs out there, and based on how much money you make, you don't qualify. So I think that that's important for people to realize, is that those programs might be available to you, even if you make more than, it's like what would be considered low income in this country.
One of the other things we deal with a lot is credit repair. And, sometimes we will work with first timers for a year, helping them prepare and plan. Do you need to save more money? Do you need to pay off some debt? What other steps do we need to go through to get you to the finish line?
And is that something like, so I have like, I know that there's a couple of viewers on here that like are thinking about, it's like, I want to start going into that process. What would be some tips that you'd say, like, it's like before you even like, start looking for a house, what are some things that you should be looking at for people who are employed, but also for like, people who are self-employed? Because I know that those two things are different.
You got that one right. So for anyone, whether W-2 or self-employed, pay all your bills on time.
Okay.
Try to reduce your balances to total credit available down to 30% or lower. So in other words, your balances on your credit card shouldn't exceed 30% of the total credit. Right?
Got it.
That will optimize your FICO score.
Okay.
And FICO scores do play into interest rate. They affect what rate you can qualify for. For self-employed, and oftentimes it's a year-long process because we may have to work with CPA or tax preparer to to be certain that the returns they're filing are going to qualify them, because most self-employeds that we see maximize their deductions so that they show very little taxable income for obvious reasons, but that may not help them in their quest to qualify to buy a home. So, and we certainly, there's nothing illegal we're talking about here. It's just that maybe not, not deducting quite as many expenses as they normally do.
Yeah, so that they could look like so they on paper, they are showing up like they have enough income to qualify.
Yes.
For a mortgage. I think that's like really helpful because it's like I'm a business person, so I know what my taxes look like, and and it's beneficial for paying taxes every year to have it look that way.
Yeah.
But realizing, I think for a lot of people, not realizing that actually can harm your ability to qualify for a home. So for people who are like wondering, like, my credit rating, like what should my credit rating look like if I'm going to want to hop into the process for buying a house?
Different programs have different FICO score limits. If you're looking at a jumbo loan, which would be a loan over the conforming loan limit, so over 822 today, then all bets are off. It's full documentation, 2 years tax returns, no matter whether you're self-employed or W-2'd, and your FICO score better be at least 720 or higher.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Now, if we're just talking first-time home buyers, which we're probably not going to be jumbo, but you never know.
Yeah.
Then FICO score could go as low as 620 for most programs, and some will go lower than that.
Excuse me.
Call 620 kind of where we like to see to get people there or higher.
Okay.
Anything over 680 is going to be more beneficial for loan pricing, and over 740 is considered perfect. Hope that helps.
No, I think that's great though, because again, it's like the things that we think we know versus what it actually looks like. People tell you all the time that you need to work on your credit score, but you never know what that looks like.
Well, no, and the FICO score that you often see if you go online to Credit Karma or Experian or somebody at the car dealer pulls your credit and tells you this is what your Equifax score is. They use a different FICO scoring system than we use for mortgage loans.
Okay.
We are we have to use a certain scoring system, and I forget which one it is, but that's the one that we have to use for mortgage loans.
Yeah.
And it's more conservative.
Got it.
So I will have people tell me they have a 780 FICO score, and I pull their credit and it's 690, and I'm like, well,
that's a lot different from like,
Well, plus we look at all three and we take the middle score.
Okay.
So, when you go to the car dealer, they're just pulling one, and it's a different scoring system.
Okay. So then tips for people who are like, I want to know what my optimal credit score is for doing this. Then what I'm hearing you say is
over 700.
Pull all three of them.
Yeah.
And average it.
Yeah.
Don't just like look at
it's
one.
the middle score that we use.
Okay.
Always. Yeah.
All right. So you guys out there, don't just like, rely on what the bank told you your credit score is. It sounds like you got to pull all three of them and then average it out so you know what your credit rating looks like. Um,
Yep.
so, how would you describe the loan process for someone who's never gone through it? And, it's like maybe intimidated by the idea of having to go through it. Like, can you like briefly describe what the process looks
So
like?
first we collect income and asset documentation from our clients.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we need a little bit more than that if they currently own a home, but basically just think of us as collecting your pay stubs, W-2s, tax returns, and bank statements or asset statements that will be the source of a down payment if we're using down payment. But you always want to have some cash on hand at any rate.
Mm-hmm.
So then we set up the loan file. For a TBD approval that I described earlier, we only have them sign a few forms and submit it to underwriting. They don't have to go through full disclosure.
Okay.
But once a property is identified and you're under contract, we issue loan disclosures. They go out electronically. And the next step is we order an appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
The borrower will pay for that. They'll get an email asking them for a payment. And then the file will be submitted to underwriting. There's a lot of background work that goes on in processing, but we aren't as involved in that. But believe me, there's a lot of other little baby steps that processing does.
Mm-hmm.
But they submit the file to the underwriter. All of this takes place in one loan operating system called Encompass.
Okay.
Then the underwriter reviews everything and will say this loan is approved with these 5 conditions.
Okay.
And usually, we're pretty good at what we do. We don't usually have a whole lot of conditions,
Mm-hmm.
or they're minor. Maybe it's some just updated pay stubs, for instance,
Okay.
and getting the insurance in place.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, then I will talk with my client about their insurance. I will talk with my client, or Katie and I will, about their vesting.
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to hold title? We will advise them on title,
Mm-hmm.
and we will say, you need a trust.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
We always do. If
I
you
love
do
that.
not have a living trust, you need one, and if you have one, you're going to have to go in and have it updated with, now that you buy this property.
Yeah.
But first timers, they're not going to have a trust.
Most times, most of them don't.
Yeah.
It takes them a long.
Yeah.
They're invincible at this point.
We just keep telling them,
Yeah.
you need one. You need one. So then we collect all these conditions, including the appraisal that's been performed,
Mm-hmm.
and the file and the insurance, and we make sure we have the correct vesting, how they will hold title,
Mm-hmm.
and then we submit the file back to the underwriter for the final approval. A closing disclosure is issued electronically, and that tolls the date that loan documents and purchase documents can be signed.
Okay.
And then we sign them, issue the loan documents, and of course we will send a mobile notary to meet our client to sign them, and we can close that day. Usually it's going to close in fund the next day.
Okay.
Now all along, obviously we're keeping our client updated, and they do receive a series of automated emails.
I can attest to that.
But we obviously keep them updated. But purchase loans are usually going to close in 30 days, and they can go faster, particularly where we have already fully pre-approved them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're fully approved. Then it can take place in 2 to 3 weeks.
That's
we just
awesome.
need an appraisal and the title report.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, because I think also understanding what the process looks like is very helpful. It's like with anything that you're doing, if you're not organized. So what I'm hearing from you a lot is you have to be organized, meaning that you have to do your homework, and you got to start the process not looking for a house, but talking to your mortgage broker and having them help you start the process of making sure your income looks good, your debt to income ratio looks good, your credit looks good, and then you go through the process of getting fully approved, not even pre-approved anymore apparently, fully approved, and then you can start looking for your house, so that you walk out of the process happy and not disappointed that you've done all this and then you're still at square one.
By the way, this is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm slurping it down.
Yeah. It is one of my favorite things. When it's cold or if it's a rainy day, it warms you up from like inside. So it's like, I love it. So right now I know that the market is, and we've been hearing all stories about like, houses are going way above asking, houses are not staying on the market. Like,
Houses aren't hitting the market in a lot of cases.
oh my gosh. Okay. So tell us a little bit about what current environment looks like right now.
First of all, you have to be, um, pre-approved, or better yet, fully approved to even get your foot in the door.
Wow.
So look at a property and to have an offer accepted. It's in most cases we're seeing our clients make offers on anywhere from 5 to 15 homes before their offer's accepted, just because it's so competitive.
Oh my gosh.
And I've talked with realtors who have had 30 plus offers come in.
Holy.
Can you imagine just having to go through all those?
That's a lot.
And like help your client, help your seller, decide which way to jump. I spoke with a client who made an offer over asking price, and the seller accepted a lower offer because it was all cash. So they didn't require an appraisal. There were no contingencies. And so that's where being fully approved really helps, because you don't need a loan contingency.
Yeah. Okay.
But back to your question, you just need to be focused. You need to be ready to be a little bit frustrated if you're out there in the market today.
Yeah.
You need to be ready to maybe go over asking price, because there's just so much competition.
Really?
Yeah, but I do think it's going to slow down because interest rates have risen slightly.
Okay.
They haven't gone up that much. They're still in the 3s.
Wow.
Which in my lifetime is, I remember the teens in the past.
Yeah.
But that affects buying power or purchasing power, a little bit. So I think that we may see a little bit of slowing down, but I don't know that we're really going to, let me put it this way, prices leveling off.
Okay.
But I don't really think prices are going to drop, because there's too much demand and we don't have enough housing.
There's not enough inventory on that. Okay. Yep. So would you then say that, like, if a first-time home buyer comes in, the market being what it is, would you say that you have a shot at, like, getting?
Of course. Don't lose heart. Just keep plugging away.
Yeah.
If you're working with a good realtor, they will find you a property and get your offer accepted.
So that's the key then. It's like beyond like, making sure that your financing is good. You've got to make sure that you have a realtor who knows what they're doing, who's experienced, or, be able to, like, really make sure that your offer gets looked at and approved. Gosh, I've been hearing, like,
sometimes it's telling the story.
Yeah. Okay, so I had a realtor on Rum Shop recently, and she indicated that there's, like, a new rule that says you cannot, like, the realtors cannot encourage their clients to write a letter and send a photo in, because that encourages discrimination.
Oh, okay. I don't know about that.
Okay, yeah, she said it was relatively new, and that was very interesting to me. But then you could see how,
Yes.
It's like if you've got, like, this family and this family and that family, and you're like
looking at it and going,
yeah. And so
wow.
I thought that was, like, really interesting. But I see that I've seen people still are writing letters and and hoping that that's going to get their beautiful families into a home. So I guess people are still doing it, and maybe people don't even know that that's not allowed anymore. But
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was like, wow. I was like, I guess I could see that, but
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, so for our first-time home buyers who are looking to get into the market, do you have any other tips for them?
Just be prepared and start early. Start way in advance of when you think you want to move. It's the more preparation, the more you work with your lender, get all your ducks in a row, and it'll be less frustrating and more successful for you. And like I said, pay down your bills, pay everything on time. Just try and make your financial picture as clean and good looking as possible.
Awesome. I love that. All right, awesome. You guys, I hope that this was very helpful for you. Thank you so much, Karen, for stopping by and for sharing your wisdom.
To visit the Rum Shop.
I know. I'm so glad you got to see it.
next time we're having rum, can we do it in the afternoon?
Oh, we can switch. We can totally switch the time and do it in the afternoon so we can have rum. Because I usually make those rum drinks and I'm like, I
What
can't.
am I going to do with it now?
At 10 o'clock, I gotta go back to work. He drinks it.
Oh.
So hopefully that this is very helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. Even if we don't address them now, I will find answers to your questions from Karen. I know that she's always happy to help, always happy to just help people
Help
get
anybody
into
answer questions.
help answer the questions and get them into their position. I refer my clients only to Karen, whether that is reverse mortgages, first-time home buyers. We just did our refinance with Karen and Katie. So this is actually coming from someone who has had experience with them. They were fantastic. We felt like we knew what was happening then, and that this is our first refi.